All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another awesome episode of the Fit 40 podcast. We have an incredible guest today. It is one of my superstar clients, Shannon. She is by far the best responder to date for the Fit 40 program. Her results have been absolutely insane. But the cool thing is, she's not doing anything like super revolutionary. We're not doing some crazy protocols. We're doing really simple stuff that you listening right now could implement today and get amazing results. So, Shannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're
Happy to be
very
here.
welcome. You're very welcome. So, to start this off, and I know I asked you this off camera, like before we recorded, but I want to let the audience know, like, I have your permission to share these results, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Always want to just put that out there because that's one of the things with Fit 40. I'm not big on progress pictures or sharing people's like body weight or personal information, but we'll share the progress because progress speaks volumes. So let's start with the basic stuff. Like we at Fit 40, we take measurements with the neck, waist, and hips. So Shannon lost about an inch in the neck, 3.5 inches in the waist, and 5.5 inches in the hips. And this is in 2 months. Okay. Everything I'm about to tell you is in 2 months, like 8 weeks apart with these measurements. So overall, 18.5 pounds down. But I'll tell you this, it's not even the craziest number. Okay. Because what does that 18.5 come from? All right. I'll tell you right now, that comes from losing about 7.7% of your body fat, which is insane. Okay. That comes from gaining 12.5 pounds of lean body mass. And that comes from losing 31 pounds of pure body fat. I didn't know that this was humanly possible. And I even looked into it and said, okay, like we use the Navy method. I'm like, what's this margin of error? How far off could we possibly be? Worst case scenario. And it was like a couple of pounds of difference. I'm like, holy crap. So Shannon,
That's
let's
insane.
talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. So first off, let's give the audience an idea of like, where did you start before achieving all of this? Like, where were you before jumping on the program?
So what I actually started at was, okay, so I have to back up a little bit. I don't want to be the guy from Goonies, but like, it's sort of been a lifetime journey. So, I've had weight loss issue, or I guess weight issues my entire life. And so I think I have no memory where I haven't been in some way, shape, or form not dieting or like trying to figure out how to lose weight or whatever the case may be. So most recently though, this part has been like I had my son when in 2020, and then after that, like your body is just this shape form that you've never met before, and like it's been bad. I've had heavy weights, but like it's completely different, like mind issue. Like it's just completely different from even having like extra weight on your body. You're not as flexible. You have weight in areas that you don't usually have. And so I think that kind of sent me into like a funky place where, I just started overeating and maybe depression even, I'm not sure. And then I kind of hit a wall where I just kind of didn't want to have to deal with it anymore because like there's so much shame and like negative talk to yourself when you're in that headspace. And so one of my friends at work, my bestie actually, she was doing Zepbound, and I was like really resistant to doing it because I've always been like, I can do this. Like I can do it myself. I don't need help. But the part of it that was like, sort of like appealing to me was not having to listen to the food noise because that's my big thing. It's like, I get to work, sit down at my desk. I'd be like, what time is it? 10 o'clock. Okay. How many more minutes until lunch? And then what am I going to eat? Where are we going to go? And that's so annoying because like I could use that energy for something much more productive. So anyway, I started doing research on Zepbound, and like, I started listening. I went on Reddit, and then somebody had suggested like the Docs Who Lift. And so I started listening to that podcast, and it was sort of like this informational journey. I was really trying to find like nutrition, evidence-based information that I could like rely on and make the decision from. And they have a lot of that content. And then, I started deep dive into that. And the problem I had is like, when you go on Instagram, it's so hard to find things that aren't just trends. It's like, I want to know things that like have like actual based in science. I mean, it's not just something that's like, do this because I've done everything you can think of. Like,
Do this because it worked for me. So it'll definitely
yeah,
work for you.
yeah, and it always annoyed me because even like with Weight Watchers, I feel like Weight Watchers is like an ex-boyfriend I broke up with that like now I've had some distance. I can like say, oh, that was not good. That wasn't good either. Um, and I think a lot of my like scale related things came from doing Weight Watchers for so many years on and off and failing at it and feeling like a failure and like everybody can do this, but I can't do this. Like, why not? So anyway, getting back to that, like, so I found Lift and then I found a bunch of accounts, including you, where, it was nutrition based. And then I reached out to you because you also were Zepbound friendly and
Maybe I should
evidence and
start
nutrition
putting
based.
I should start putting that in the description. I am GLP-1 friendly.
Exactly. It's a big thing because there's so much shame involved in, taking the GLP-1
I,
sometimes, even
I'll
with
I'll
people you
never
know.
I'll never understand that.
I don't
I
either.
don't get it.
It's crazy. And even now, so I don't know how far you want me to go into this, but like, so I found you and I was so excited because I've never been able to work with a trainer before. And like, I had this desire to do, because one of the things they focus on, Docs Who Lift, is like strength training, keeping track of your lean muscle mass so that like if you're taking Zepbound, you're still taking care of your body. And so I was really interested in learning how to strength train, but I had no idea how to do it. And I was just like finding random workouts and random things. And then like one of my friends who does weightlifting, which is, I mean, some sort of like body composite, no, weightlifting show. I don't know. She does muscle
Yeah,
stuff.
like bodybuilding, physique
Yeah,
style
yeah.
stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
and she's like perfect and amazing. So she gave me some workouts to try out and they kicked my butt. But I was like, ugh, I feel like I don't have an actual, like I need sort of like a plan that's for me. And, in all of my research that I've now done, like there was somebody who said like random things lead to random results. And so like finding you is helpful because it's like you give me a plan, you give me a direction, and then I can follow it and I don't have to like hope that I'm doing the right thing. And so I think that that's where like a lot of um, the help came for me was like, okay, somebody who knows what I'm doing, who I am, what I'm aiming for, and like can actually give me the things I need. And so that's kind of like where our paths crossed and we went on from there. Um, since we started working together, I felt like I was being so successful and I was like on the right track so much that I stopped taking Zepbound like probably a month and a half or so ago. And I'm still having, because I wanted to know how much of it was what I was doing and how much of it was the Zepbound. And so, um, yeah, so then I stopped taking it and it's like, hey, it's still just me. It's me doing this stuff. And like, and so I just like, I'm enjoying that part of it so much. And I've been able to like, you've helped me also like kind of figure out the food noise thing and like help me pivot my narrative and things like that. So that's been really helpful. And so I haven't felt the need to go back to it. I still actually have a whole month of doses in my fridge, like as a safety blanket or security blanket. But yeah, so that's kind of like where we are now is I'm following the leader. Like you tell me what to do and I'm doing it.
Yeah. And there's so many good things in that. And I really want to touch on a couple of them before we go into the next thing. Because first off, like the fact that you mentioned Docs Who Lift and me in the same sentence is a gigantic, like huge, like, oh my God moment. Like, because they like the Nadolski brothers are
Yeah.
two of the best in the world as far as providing great information around health, fitness, and everything in between and
Yeah.
nutrition. So, I mean, it's awesome to be in the same conversation. And then second is like I think a lot of people are finding themselves in this position where they're coming off a Zepbound or Wegovy or Ozempic, and either whether it's for financial reasons or they just don't, it doesn't agree with them. And just seeing someone like you thriving off of the medication gives people a little bit of hope. It's like, I could be one of these people. Now, I'm not saying this is like standard. And as long as you do everything that Shannon does, it's going to work for you. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. But there is, like, I know how you and me had that conversation with the food noise. There is a population of people that just need to learn some skills to reduce the food noise to a point where they can do what they need to do. So
Yeah.
when it came to your specific situation, like what helped a lot with the food noise? Was it like food selection? Was it mindfulness? Like what was the big thing for you?
Yeah. So two things. One, what's helpful was just having the break from the food noise and also realizing that not everybody has the same noise in their head that I have was validating. So it was like, no, this isn't everybody. Some people, this is how it is for some people. So having the experience was super helpful just to know that that's a possibility, like that I'm not on the same playing field necessarily with
Experience
other
like a new
people.
norm?
Yeah, like well, it just like when you're on the Zepbound, everything is quiet and you're not constantly thinking about food. And like to have that just break even for like the amount of time that I took it was helpful just to know that that is um possibility for some people. Like, and it wasn't a possibility for me without this medication. But then like I was like, okay, there's got to be a way where I can sort of modify it to make it work to a degree for me. And so yeah, you had not mentioned like when you're, because I think when I first came off of it, like that was so at the front of my mind that I was like, oh my gosh, it's not going to work. I'm going to have all this noise. And then it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, okay, switch the narrative, like make it so that's not what you're thinking about. And I've also come to I do all this research and podcast listening and all this stuff, but something else I heard was the reticular activation system. So like, when you are looking for certain things, that's what you see, and your brain will filter out the other stuff. So I've been trying to really use that to like look for information about relationship with food, things like that, or um, solutions for when you are hungry. So Jordan Syatt's another one I love to listen to. And one of his suggestions was to eat a bunch of like low calorie, high volume foods. One of the things he suggested was like watermelon or strawberries or popcorn or cucumbers, whatever, something along those lines. And so what I've started doing when I eat breakfast is I have something like watermelon. Today I had apples. I had, something along those lines. So my brain's like, okay, we've eaten something. We've got some fiber in there. We're good. And that's been working for me like really, really well. And so then I just try to do that kind of like with every meal to a certain extent, because it comes into the PFC thing too. Like it's a color. So,
Yep.
it's just hitting the boxes here and there. And so that's what I've done that's helped me a lot, is just kind of like, and also it gives your brain like, no, we've checked that box. We're good. We're not hungry. We've had something. We have something in our stomach. We're good until later. Let's do other stuff now. So it's just like the mental part of it is really.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who heard PFC and they might be new to the podcast, that's our system that we work on. Like the first thing you do in the Fit 40 program is PFC, protein, fiber, color. So that being part of the kickstart, like let's talk about that. So we started in this place of, okay, like we are coming in with still on the medication, but we're transitioning out. So when you were starting the Fit 40 program, like what exactly did you think going in, and like how has it been up to this point, I guess?
So when I came in, I actually was thinking like I would stay on the medication, because so this journey right now that I started, I'd say like from the Zepbound point on, was I was trying to like attack this from every angle, because I don't want to have to do this again. Like I want this to be the last time that I have to lose all this weight. I want this to be my new version going forward. And so I attacked it from a few different fronts. For me, the food noise was the Zepbound. I felt like there was like internal work that I needed to do that was leading to the eating and all that kind of stuff. So I'm also working with like a therapist to do EDMR and things like that and work on the inside stuff. And then the other part of it was the strength part, which is where like your portion came in. And then what was the added bonus was the nutrition. Like you gave me guidance on nutrition that was nuanced, and it was like supported by evidence that was scientifically based, things like that. And so, originally my thought was, okay, I'll have all of those fronts covered, and then I'll keep taking the Zep down for the food noise. But then like once we got going and you and I had our thing, and I got to do the PFC stuff in the beginning, which was just like, just make sure you have this many servings of protein, this many servings of fiber, this many servings of color throughout the day, which was super easy. And it just made so much sense. And everything that I've heard, listened to, read is all aligned with that same idea. And so it was really nice, because it's like, here's nuance, like I feel like nuance is what's missing in a lot of the, things that I've tried in the past. And so
Yeah.
it's just really nice.
Well, it kind of gets back to how you were talking about before. When you go on social media, it's so hard to find helpful stuff because it's all trends, it's all this. And just the format of social media doesn't really allow for nuance at all, because how much time do you really have? Like
Yeah.
I've ran into that issue myself. I'm like, all right, I got 90 seconds. How the heck can I actually give people nuanced information? Damn near impossible. But
Oh
everybody
yeah.
listening right now to the podcast, this is where you get the good stuff.
Yeah. It's super helpful. And
Yeah.
like also, I mean, it's really hard too, because like, people it's hard to know when you don't have a background in nutrition science or anything like that. It's hard to know how to like filter out the stuff that's just crap,
Yeah.
and like to know like, is this actually a new thing that somebody learned, or is this like that I should be doing, or is this something that's just trending and is not anything worth my time? Like I got caught in the CGMs. I got caught in, all the different things. And it was funny because at one point somebody's like, well, how does the CGM work? Like, how does that help you? And I was like, I'm not sure. It sort of like, I don't remember what somebody was just pointed out that's like, that just tells you if you don't have diabetes when your blood spikes, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't really help
Yeah.
you.
And it
So
makes you freak out over normal blood sugar and insulin
exactly.
response.
Yeah.
So it's like all this information with no education most of the time. And you're just like, I don't even know what to make of this.
Yeah,
And I like how you
exactly.
brought up a good point that what we do, a lot of it is like stuff that you hear and it kind of connects the dots for a bunch of other things. And that's a
Hmm.
good sign for anybody listening. If you are hearing information and it's starting to connect a lot of dots and make more sense for you over time, that's how you know you're in the right spot. If you always feel confused and scared and like you're doing everything wrong, chances are it's bullshit.
Yeah. Or if it's just black and white, like,
Yeah.
the thing that frustrated me for me personally about Weight Watchers was I always felt like there was a piece missing. And I think there were a few
Hmm.
pieces missing. Like, it's just they give you these points and they're like, do these things, or these foods are 0 points. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, they obviously can't be nothing. I mean, I've tracked calories before. I know they're not zero. So like
Yeah.
chicken, for example, it would be, okay, I know that's good for me, but like it shouldn't not count. So it doesn't really teach you how to like, I don't know, live in the world,
Yeah. And
so
I'm glad that you brought up Weight Watchers because like I grew up with like my mom was on and off it. Like I have family members that were on and off it. Pretty much everybody
yeah,
knows somebody who's done Weight Watchers. And clearly it's not working for the majority of people if people keep falling off and jumping back on. They're like, well, it worked one time and I lost 20 pounds, but it came right back. So it's like,
yeah.
does that count as working?
Oh no, I lost like over 90 pounds with Weight Watchers at one point in my life.
Yeah.
And I
Which
think
is
that's part of,
incredible, which is
yeah, it
amazing.
was. But the thing that's heartbreaking is when, you fail because it's like, okay, well, I learned all these tools. This was supposed to, like, I was supposed to be able to like live my life, but I never hit like maintenance, which is like, they give you these goals too. And it's just kind of like, I think it really obscured because I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, where did my whole issue with like the scale come from? And I really feel like a lot of it is just growing up with Weight Watchers as part of my life because even doctors tell
Yeah.
you, like, this is the healthiest thing you should do, like, for your weight loss or blah, 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 which I guess that has to be something that the general public can do. And it probably is, out of all the things that are out there, it's probably the best choice. But, having your entire week just, you know, either success or fail on what the scale says really just puts the scale into like the worst possible, like, context for your life because
Yeah.
now that's one of the things that was on my list of like let's just head this on, like, go right at it because I've had that relationship with the scale, and so now I weigh myself every single day, and it's been great because then I can see, like, I learned so much more about my body, and I will not let myself decide whether this is a success or a failure this day when I look at that number. Instead, I'm like, what information is this giving me, like, today? So, you just learn so many intricate things about your body that you didn't know before by doing that. So if you take the emotion out of it and it's just a data point and you ask yourself, what can I learn from this number today? It's so much better than like, did I succeed or did I fail this week?
Yeah.
And if
Exactly.
it's every day. I don't notice whether it's like a huge up or a huge down. It's kind of like, what's this number today? And so, um, like this week has been hard because my husband is out of town. So I'm like single parenting and I haven't gotten great sleep. And then my numbers have kind of been back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like, that makes sense. I haven't had a lot of sleep. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. So, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm doing all the things right. I'm tracking, I'm weighing everything. It's like I'm doing my exercise. I got my workout in on Monday when my son was napping. I'm making it work. So I'm succeeding this week. It has nothing to do with that stupid scale. So
Yeah.
um
I love
yeah.
how you said you were succeeding, but you listed pretty much everything except for the weight.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's the weirdest thing. Like this time it's funny because like I am so hungry for the information this time. I'm not, and it's like I don't really care about the food part of it. I'm like, I want to know facts because like if you um let's see, it's like kind of like if you learn about the process, then you can trust the process. You know what I mean? So like if I have the facts to the whys as to why this is working or why this is happening, then I have that information and I can rely on it and I can trust what we're doing and I don't have to be like, what does the scale say today? It's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the scale says. I know what I'm doing. I know this process. I've done my homework. I know that this makes sense. It's coming from people with good facts that I can rely on. So that's helped a lot for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. Now, if we were to get into like the nitty gritty of like people are wondering, like she's mentioning all these amazing things, but like let's get a little bit deeper. So, when it comes to like the nutritional side of things, what's like a couple of things that you were doing differently, specifically compared to last time, that you think have yielded really good results for you and have made a big change?
It's the structure. So making sure
Yeah.
I have X amount of protein, making sure I have this kind of fiber, like as in, vegetables and fruit. And then, with the color. Oh no, so I think it would be fiber would be like the grains. So having a whole wheat or a rice or, something like that. And then a color. So like the vegetables or the fruit. Like it's like if I have those things, then I'm okay. It's like, and then the other thing I heard that I loved, I'm sorry, I'm telling you all these things I found out that I love,
Hey,
but
that's what we're here for. Let the people know.
I pick all these things up from different podcasts. I'm sort of like in a crazy place right now. So one of the things that Joy Munoz said on his podcast was to eat the things you need. No, eat the things you want and add the things you need, which I think is also very helpful. So that's kind of what I try to do. And I also keep like a journal. So like my workout journal, and I have like, let me show you my craziness. Um, so this is like my most valuable item right now. So I like write all of my favorite things that I've heard, like quotes and things like that in the front. And then, one of the things you suggested when we were talking was doing my green light moment. And so like I have a ton of those. And then, I also, I look like a psycho, but like, this is like the calendar. And what I started doing was writing like all the positive things I am each day, like one positive thing each day. Like I'm worthy, I'm confident, I'm whatever. And
I
then
love
this is
that.
where I love this because this is where I get to track. Like when I do my exercise, I give myself stickers.
Hey,
Excuse me.
you're mastering the big thing, which is the positive reinforcement. Now, I know
Yes.
we went off a little bit on Weight Watchers, but I will give them credit where credit is due. They do a very good job in incentivizing people, like in giving milestones and things like that. And
Yes.
even if you're not in that program or if you're doing your own thing, having these little micro, like you did good moments are
Mhm.
so crucial. Like I know we do the non-scale victory every single week when it comes to the
Yeah,
check-in, but like even daily, like how you're doing it, it's such a huge help.
it is. Well, and also, so when I think it was our first conversation we had, I was telling you like one of the problems I've had is like being consistent with my working out, and I need someone to sort of keep me accountable for that. And I
Mhm.
explained like my time that I found that I could work out is at night. Like after we put my son to bed and we come out of the room and we look like zombies because we've been in a dark room and we've been helping him fall asleep. And you were like, just go to bed at that point. Like, don't try to like go against the current. And that was one of the most helpful things I've ever heard. And it's now my favorite part of the day because like I walk out of there a zombie and then I go to bed and I don't scroll on my phone. I put my phone down and I go to my journal and I start writing all the positive things that happened that day. And that's how I end my day is like on a high note. I did this today. I got my workout in. Here are my stickers. Here are things that tell me that I'm on the right path, da 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 da. And then that's how I end my night. And when I get sleepy, put it down and I move on. But it's like, I look forward to it every day. It's like, I'm going to go, I'm going to journal and I'm going to fall asleep and I'm going to wake up. So that's become like my favorite thing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That really is because I mean, if you end the day that positive, it's only going to start the next day even better, right? Assuming we don't have
Yeah.
some crazy nightmare.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, and my son unfortunately has been waking up more lately, but it's also helpful because then when my alarm goes off at 5 a.m. to get up and do my workout the next morning, I'm like, I've already got that, I've written in my thing. I'm expecting to do it in the morning. It's my last stop
Yep.
before I go to bed. When it goes off, I'm like, let's do this. And I have a ritual for that too. So like at night before I do this, I put my clothes out and I have to put them in like a bathroom where my dog won't see me so he doesn't start barking. And then, and so doing my clothes at night before I go to sleep, writing in my journal, like it's all just very like, I have sort of a routine that I follow. And then now if my past self has already put my clothes out, I don't have an excuse to not be able to go and work out at 5 a.m. My alarm goes off. I'm like, everything's ready for me to go. I have my scale in there. I like weigh myself. I put my clothes on. I go do my workout and then I start my day. So it's been
Yep.
awesome.
And I know this touches on a really important topic that you and me have had multiple discussions about, which is getting ahead of it. And like getting prepared so that it's that much easier the next
Oh
day.
yeah.
Because I mean, when it's all right there for you and you have to stare at it and be like,
Yeah.
should I? You're more likely, like 9 times out of 10, you're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, if it's first thing in the morning, like you've said before, it's like you don't have nothing else has happened during my day that is preventing me from doing this other than me just saying, get your feet out of the bed and put them on the floor. And
Yep.
so if that's all it is, then I have no excuse. Put my feet on the floor. Let's get out there.
Yep. And now, when it comes to the workout side of things, I think, like, especially when it comes to the style that we do, it can be a little bit confusing because I think I'm pretty sure we had this conversation like one of those first weeks where you're like, is this enough? Like, are we doing, like, I feel like nothing is really happening. Can you explain that sensation and like mentally how it feels and like being that you gained 12 pounds of muscle, like clearly it worked. Like, what was that
I
whole
love it.
process like?
Yeah, the strength was great. I realized I had bought dumbbells before I knew what I was doing, and so like I obviously didn't buy a high enough weight. And I think it was after my first workout I texted you. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need more weight because I've already maxed out on what I. What should I do?
And
But
what
yeah,
were those
it's
weights?
just like
Just so people listening are
20,
like,
25s. I was like, okay,
yeah.
I've already done 25, so I need.
And I can tell you, everybody right now, just think about how heavy your toddler was when you were holding them when they were younger. You can handle more than 25 pounds.
Well, and that was my whole thought was just like, okay, my kid is like 40 pounds and I pick him up and carry him all the time. Like, there's no reason why I can't be 25. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I started there and I think I was trying to decide whether I wanted to do the Fit 40 or the Fit 20. And I really wanted to be consistent and have success with that. So I picked the 20 and I'm actually super glad that I did because it just made like everything easy, like, which is the best way, and productive at the same time. And so, yeah, the workouts have been amazing. It's really fun, even just in the amount of time that I'm doing it. Like my legs are stronger, my arms are stronger. Like, I go to do the bear crawl kick things and I'm like, dang, I can do this. Like, this isn't so bad. This is crazy. Um, yeah, it's so many crazy things. And I just am enjoying it. I love it. It's just always fun. And then like now I think I've had 2 phases of different workouts, and the second phase brought in some new stuff. But then there were some old friends from the first set of like, oh yay!
Yep.
It's fun to continue to have the old friends in the routines.
Yeah. A little bit familiar, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah,
ooh,
a little
what's
scared.
this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know I
And
hit
for
that drop
anybody,
down button. I'm like,
yeah, well, the drop down button for anybody who's wondering, there's like a bunch of different alternate exercises based on equipment and ability and all that. So you can customize and move it around. And you brought up the Fit 20 and Fit 40. All it is different timing. Like
yeah,
Fit 20 is a 20-minute workout, Fit 40 is a 40-minute workout.
yeah,
And I
and
love how you had that mental conversation of, I want to be consistent. I want to build momentum here. So I'm going to start lower, like start at the 20,
mhm,
because it's like, if I can nail that over and over and over again, we could always go up. But
yeah,
you never fell into the cycle of, I'm going to go for the tip top because that's what I'm supposed to do, and then start this cycle of missing workouts, feeling like a failure,
yeah,
and going down that rabbit hole. You said, I'm going to be smart about this. I'm going to reverse
yeah.
that.
For sure. And I think that's the other eye opening thing is, I haven't had a lot of education on fitness or like what is ideal or widely agreed upon as being like helpful. So, in my mind, in the past, my best solution was teach myself how to run. So I did have marathons for a while and I did one marathon, which I completely regretted. And then, I've since, yeah, so it's great to know that like consistency is like, that's actually one of my most important things is consistency is one of my biggest goals all the time.
Yeah.
Because if I am consistent, then I will see results and I do not have to worry and I don't have to stress and I don't have to like, just be consistent. And
Yep. And I
so,
know you're a big fan of the quotes and everything. And I got another one for you. It comes from Lane Norton, which is one of the best educators on nutrition and fitness in the entire world. He has said multiple times, the science is in the compliance. If you can
oh
comply with
yeah,
the plan and do it over and over and over again, that's where the results are. Because an optimal
yeah,
plan that never gets done never gets results.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it's just nice to have like for you to do my programming so that I don't have to like stress it. I don't have to like think what do I have to learn to be able to do this correctly? Like you do it for me.
Yep.
And it's fine.
Yep.
I can just put my faith in it and just, okay, this is what I should do. And he knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to do it and let's see where we go.
And you have nice videos right there too, right? So it's like a nice
Oh
little
yeah.
refresher of like, oh, what was this? All right, got it.
And you and I have warmed up so many times together.
Yes, we
I know the
have.
whole thing by heart.
There is a reason that warm up is like the number one thing on YouTube right now. I'm like, everybody's doing it. I'm so glad they're actually doing the warm up.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know it by heart now, even though where you're like little weird pauses before to try to see if the cameras go.
Yep. Yep. And honestly, anybody listening right now, that's how your warm up should feel. It should be like brainless to the point where you know exactly what you're doing. Because if you can just get in and do your warm up, there's no mental effort required. There's just, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in the flow. And then it's like, if you want to call it quits and it's just not your day, that's fine. But
Yeah.
once you're in the flow, 9 times out of 10, you're like, all right, I'm ready to go.
Oh yeah. No, I hit the scary feet part, and I'm like, yes, scary feet, let's
Yes.
go. So
uh,
it's really fun. I love it.
it's a fun one. I really enjoyed making that one.
Well, and you know what the nice thing too about doing it over and over again is because you do squats in the warm up and you do like the lateral squats and then you do something else. Anyway, you can because we do it so many times, I can think about form while I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, he's got his legs like this, he says knees out, whatever. Like, and I can just keep practicing so that when we do it like in the actual workout part, I'm always like, okay, what were the things he said to do? Okay, knees out, feet apart, whatever it is. So it's really nice to
Yep.
have that too.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of times people fall into the trap of switching the program up all the time, every time. And we switch every 4 weeks. So it's like you get 4 chances to get better and better and better at the form. And when you can get the form better, you get more out of the exercise and you get better results compared to doing like 50% of correct over and over
Right.
and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was one of my, I think the second week I was like, and have the same things again. See what happened? And you're like, yeah, you stick with the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, that
Yep.
was also another learning moment where I was like, okay. And it's actually great because it's like, you know what's coming, you know what days it's going to be what, and you can kind of like look forward to it or, fear it a little bit.
Yeah. And along with that, like the fact that you're mentally in that place, it's like you're unintentionally being more intentional. And I think that's one of the big things a lot of people don't grasp before they go onto a proper program is I have to think about this. Like I need to be like dialed in and make sure I'm doing this correctly.
Well, that's my other favorite word right now. So consistency and intentional or intention is the other thing that I think is like my other big, um, sort of like mantra, I guess it would be. Because it was funny the other day, like they were bringing pizza in for the office, and the girl in the front desk is always in charge of she's going to be part of the pizza party or whatever. And so she was like, "Hey, you know, I replied to my email. Are you going to be on pizza?" And I was like, "No." And instead of being like, "Oh, I'm watching what I'm eating," I said, "I'm being more intentional with my decisions, and I've decided I don't want that stuff." So
Yeah.
it's just like little things like that where your brain's saying, "No, you're being intentional. You're like depriving yourself. You're being intentional." So it's also that. It's just, it's all about the mental, where you're going to come from it for sure. Like how you want to
Yeah.
approach it. It's
Yep.
thousand. And this, it's so funny too, because like this time, because I'm being so self-aware and I'm trying to be in the moment and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Um, I don't have the urge to have cheat days or cheat meals. It's like, if I want it, then it's there. It's my decision. Do I want, I think I've texted this to you too. It's like nutrition is a spectrum, not on and off. Like you're not on or off plan. It's just a spectrum. And so I really try to
Exactly.
embrace that and be like, okay, pizza's available. I can have it, or I can, stay over here and have what I planned, or something like that. And I just like that area a little bit more right now. So yeah, the pizza thing, I sort of cringed a little bit, and I'm like, I'm gonna do that like Greek yogurt pizza dough and do that, for myself this week. I did like a cauliflower crust from Trader Joe's
Mhm.
like a few weeks ago. Yeah, so it's
Yep.
just you make it work.
Yep. You figure out exactly what you want, what you need, and you find a way to blend it all. And I
Yeah.
know that we've been working on the mental side of things for sure. And along with the therapy, it's been a big, big help. And
Mhm.
along with that, a lot of people don't realize that, like in the program that we do, there's also the mindful or the mindset
Mhm.
mastery lessons. And I'm curious, like being that you are working with a therapist and you went through that, how did that complement? Like, was it competing at all, or did it feel like it kind of like
Mhm.
blended?
Yeah, it blends because I was curious. I wanted to talk to her sort of like, because I feel like her part of it is sort of like my relationship with food, that angle to a degree. Because it's like, why I've been an emotional eater before. Like, if I felt stress, I have a perfect example. I went to the dentist like couple months ago or something, and I had some really painful procedure done where the dentist decided not to use like an anesthesia because she's like, oh, well, you don't have to come back, but whatever. So I had this moment where it like stressed me out because it was really painful. And I was like, oh, and I left and I was like, I want a hash brown from McDonald's right now. And I'm like, that is really odd that my first thought after I had that stressful situation was, I want a hash brown from McDonald's. And so since that moment, I've been like, okay, where did that come from? That's really strange. So, so I've been trying to be like very self-aware and just be like, let's dive into this a little bit more. Let's contemplate this like a little bit more and figure out where that's coming from. And so, it's just like, and her thought was, it's just a comfort thing. Like, you needed comfort in that moment, and that was where you got it from. So I think it's
Yeah.
just like maybe identifying it and then figuring out how to pivot from it. So the way that her like piece of it comes in is I like kind of talk to her about like the stuff that is more like historical. So like where, maybe my background with, relationships with different people in my family have caused different things. And then, at that point in my life, that was what comforted me. And so it just kind of comes up here and there.
Yeah.
But I think it just kind of blends together with what you say, things to keep in mind. Um, she had some suggestions, which I think were also helpful, like, um, which I think maybe you even touched on, but it's like mindful eating. So, I also have a habit of eating really quickly or really fast. And so it's just slowing down, being aware of
Yep.
how much time you're taking to eat, like maybe I tried doing like set a timer for like 15 minutes and make sure my meal lasts for that amount of time or something. The other thing I've tried to do is like I take a bite and I put my fork down while I'm chewing because I have this tendency to try to make the perfect next bite while I'm chewing. A little this, a little that. But instead I'm like,
Yep.
no, put that down. Let's enjoy what we got in our mouth. We'll figure that out next. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the other thing.
Honestly, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth because I mean, when it comes to speed eating, you're looking at the king. And when it comes to like comfort eating, it's like the one thing goes wrong or the one thing goes right. Let's order
Mm-hmm.
some DoorDash. And
Yes.
it's something that's so human, but we act like it's such a shameful thing because at the end of the day, like I wish I knew where to give credit for this, but at the end of the day, all of our decisions serve a purpose. It's not that we're
Mm-hmm.
just like deciding, oh, I want to do something bad for myself right now or something
No,
that doesn't
definitely.
line up with my goals. It's always
Mm-hmm.
some reason behind that. And when we dig
Mm-hmm.
deep and figure it out, like you've done such an amazing job of doing it, like that's where the real success lies. And that's where it becomes so much easier to make the right decisions that line up with what you want.
Well, yeah, and like I think that's the other thing is that like in the past, I know, like you have a moment where you're like, I really shouldn't take a taste of that because I'm not going to count it in my tracker, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, you're only lying to yourself. Your body keeps track of everything that goes in your mouth. What's the point? So what I've tried to do this time is just be like, hey, let's just be honest. Let's like, if we're going to take that, like I took a bite of my son had one bite left of his lemon loaf and I cut it into 16 pieces. I was like, 1/16 of a lemon loaf is going in my tracker. And so it's just like, it's not even just the calorie part of it. It's just being accountable to myself too. Just being like, we're not going to be in denial. We're not going to like pretend like it didn't happen. It happened. Let's just make it part of reality.
Yep.
So that's kind of, yeah, that's the other thing
Yeah.
I've done differently this time. It's like, there's something that I'm doing where I'm like, oh, I could do that better. And not, instead of just being like, oh, whatever. I'm like, no, let's do that better. Like, cleaning my kitchen up every time I use it, like we talked about before. It's like, that's been a relief and a stress relief, like on so many, angles and aspects. And so now I can, prep a lot faster because I don't have to do dishes first or, something like that. And, yeah,
Well,
meal prepping
let's
also.
talk about that for a sec
Yeah.
because we talked about the French method and I think not enough people know about this method even though it sounds like stupid simple. It's like once you do it you're like,
Amazing.
"Wow, I should have been doing this for
Yeah.
years."
Well, I did it for Thanksgiving. I didn't even know it had a name. And I was like, it was great. So yeah, you use a dish and as soon as you use that dish, you wash it. And I did it for Thanksgiving prep and not knowing what it was. And I was like, this is magical. I got to the end of preparing everything. I'm like, there's an dish in my sink right now. So, and it's funny how little things like that will stress you out and it will just be on your mind. And it's like, yeah, we could clear that out and make space for something else. And so yeah, the French method's been great. I
It's
like
pretty
it.
wild when you take care of that little stuff, how relieving it feels. You're just
It
like, I have
does.
so much less crap going on in my head and I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking about it, but it was there.
Yeah. 100%. And like with the meal prepping, it's been, one of my like things that I've been trying to conquer. And so I think since we started working together, I've been trying to figure out how to do it best. And come across one account that I really like a lot. His name is Zach Cohen, and he
Oh,
does. Do you like him? Yeah, he's awesome.
I
And so
literally just put out a episode for anybody listening right now. You could go back to the breakfast ideas, and I put his account in there in the show notes because
oh
he's
yeah,
so great, and he's very price conscious. Like
he
he's not one
is.
of these people that makes these absurd recipes that you'll never do.
No, no. And the other thing I like about it is I make food for my husband and I for dinner. Well, he's not doing this crazy, like he's not in the same mental space I am. He thinks I'm nuts right now, which is great. It's fun. So, but I want to make things that he enjoys eating too. And what's great about Zach Cohen is he makes recipes that are like, you take a box of rice-a-roni and you put it together with this chicken, and then you make a wild rice soup. It's like a wild chicken wild rice soup, whatever it's called. And then it's something that has like normal, whatever off the shelf ingredients. So, it works on the relationship with food because you're like, this is a regular, whatever box of rice-a-roni, and I'm going to incorporate it into my healthy meal. And it's like your brain could go, hey, look at that. I can make a healthy meal using something that's processed and still make it work. And then my husband likes the way it tastes because it's got like not normal food, but it's got like regular stuff in it. And so, yeah, and what's been great is like, so my husband has a tell, like if I make something and he finishes and he immediately goes back and gets seconds, I know it's a keeper. So like I have a list of the ones that I've tried on my liked list that I will make again because I know for sure he'll go back for seconds, and that's like, okay, he liked it. Because otherwise he's always like, oh yeah, it was good. He's an engineer, so 7 is like everything that's not disastrous. So it's hard to get honest feedback from him. So yeah, his second helping is how I always know if that's a recipe to keep and make again or not.
Yeah, that's a good one to know. I know Amanda, my fiance, she definitely keeps tabs of how fast I eat it because if I'm quiet and it goes fast, she's like, "Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
nailed it."
exactly, exactly. Because he's so nice and respectful. He's never gonna be like, that was disgusting. Like this one time I made this really disgusting. It was disgusting. I wasn't eating meat at the time, and I tried to make him like adobo chicken or something. And so I couldn't taste it because I wasn't eating meat. And he had it. He's like, well, that was sharp. It was sharp chicken. And I was like, sharp is not an adjective you usually associate with recipes. Not anyway.
That's one way to get around it.
Yeah.
And now the big thing that I want to think about that I think a lot of people, or not think about, focus on, that I think a lot of people need to adapt is what's the next goal? Because it's awesome thinking about like, okay, what's this goal that I'm going for? But what happens when you hit it? Or what happens when we've achieved that thing that we're chasing? Like what's that next thing that keeps us on track and keeps us progressing rather than falling back? So what exactly is that for you? Because I know we still have a month left of the initial kickstart, but looking past that, like what are some long-term goals?
Well, you're not going anywhere. The Kickstart's going to be a few weeks. You're going to be stuck with me.
Who says
So
I'm not going to boot you? Who says I'm not going to kick you out of here?
oh, I'll find you.
No, you every client can stay as long as they'd like. I'm like your parents' house after college. You can always come back.
Oh yeah. No, I'll stalk you. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
Um,
it's
yeah,
okay. I expect it.
yeah, exactly. From all of my research, there clearly I'm a psychopath. Um, so yeah, what I my okay, so I guess my goal would be basically it's just life. So what I actually, because one of the things that I also don't like is a goal because I feel like there's disappointment associated with the goal. Because once you hit that goal, then what? Right? So actually, it's a persistent goal. My goal is to enjoy this process, and so every step of the way, it's enjoying what I'm doing today, what I'm learning today, and that's the part that I think I'm getting the most joy out of is like all this stuff I'm learning that I can apply, and I can keep doing and because there's nuance and because things change. Like I think there was something one of your many podcasts I've listened to, you talked about how you changed your mind and reverse dieting. And it's like the fact that your mind is open to the fact that things change, new information comes into purview, and like you then, you know, about face and do something else. It's like that's what I'm looking for. I want that to evolve and just keep learning and figuring out how to do things better and get stronger. I know that one of my biggest fears is like my grandma had like Alzheimer's dementia when she was in her late 60s, early 70s. And so that's always been a fear. And I know that exercise can be helpful for that. So, it's kind of like my medicine to sort of not end up in that if I can, to whatever I'm able to control, like if I can do this and I can keep making myself stronger and being a good role model to my son, then that's like my goal, and to enjoy the process as I go. And so I don't really have like, I don't want an end goal because I feel like it's like it's anticlimactic. I
Yeah.
want my goal to just be the process and then doing the process and being consistent and being intentional and trying to focus on the most positive things. It's
Yeah.
just I like that. It's so just work with my life and it just becomes life and it's not like this thing I'm doing. It's just part of life. So that for
Yeah.
me is kind of like,
I think you stated it perfectly. It's like the goal isn't really like some result, it's a state that we stay in where it's this constant or not perfection, but this constant betterment and enjoyment of the process to the point where it's so second nature that it's just your life.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I just want life to keep being good and keep being healthy and it's not weight loss. It's just, you know, making myself better for sure. So
Love
yeah.
that. Love that. Now, if we were to like put a bow on this and say, okay, there's one, two, three things that you would leave people listening with, like keys to success or key concepts that you think somebody in your position when you were just starting really needs to hear, what would you tell them?
Um, to be resourceful, like keep looking for answers until something I think makes sense. It's just like there's some voice in your head that's like, I don't know about this. Maybe listen to that voice. Like trust your instincts, trust your intuition, keep looking for answers, make sure like cross check them. Like, if you listen to one person say this, see if you can find somebody else who's a reliable source who agrees with that person, um, and I think podcasts are a great place to start because like everybody has each other on as guests. And then you can go and find those accounts and you can start reading through their stuff and see if it aligns with what you're hearing or what you're, learning. And if it is, then maybe they're getting they're having other people that come in and it's just kind of like a snowball. And so just stay curious, I guess.
Love that. Love that. Because I mean, especially how you brought up podcasting. One of the key things that us industry pros know is that the people that we crap on, the people that we're like, they are really doing a disservice to every single person that hires them. None of them can talk long form about their ideas because it's
Yeah.
so shallow and they're just regurgitating. They can't really put any substance behind it. So I love the fact that you brought up the podcast because
Mhm.
even if it's not me, if you're looking into somebody and they can riff and really explain themselves and make it make sense, that's a very, very good sign.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you've had fantastic guests on like Jeff Belzell and Jared Hamilton, like just great guests. So, and I've got so much great content from them as well. It's just like, I love it. I love that you guys all support each other because it makes it nice and helpful for all of information. So,
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, and I think this is a good point to bring up to cap it off, is the fact that if you hear people like crapping on others and say this coach sucks or that sucks, like, yeah, we pointed out flaws with Weight Watchers, but like for some people, it does work. At the end of
oh
the
yeah.
day, there are so many people that need help that there's no reason to say this person stinks, because there's so many
Mhm.
people that are not being served right now. So
Yeah.
that being said, if you guys have heard Shannon's story and you say, wow, this is exactly what I want, this is exactly what I need, and you want to check out coaching, then go ahead down in the show notes, in the description, wherever you're watching or listening, go ahead and click on that link and it'll take you to the spot to set up a call with me. We'll just talk about it, see if it's a right fit. No pressure. We just need to see if it's good for you, if it's right, and then we'll take those next steps so that hopefully you can get amazing results just like Shannon. Now, Shannon, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to tell people exactly what's been working for you and really be an inspiration for people in your shoes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
It's
very,
been
very
fun.
welcome. You're very, very welcome. And I can't wait to do the 6 month and the year follow up because
Heck
I definitely
yeah.
want to get into the habit. We got Kristen coming on soon and we're doing her
Oh, I love her.
we're doing her like
Oh, wow.
18-month checkup because
Yeah.
she's absolutely been kicking ass, taking names. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
She's one of
just
my
gonna keep this
mentors.
going. She
I saw
is. She
her.
is.
She was like your top workout person. I'm like, ooh, inspiration. I'm coming for you.
Love that. Little healthy competition goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Just in like love and adoration in
Yes.
that only
Yes.
way.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to work. Thank you again for popping on, and thank you everybody for making it all the way through and taking the time to listen and learn these key concepts. Now, that's it for today. I'll just cut myself off before I riff. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go share this with a friend or family member if they absolutely need to hear one of Shannon's tips. But that's it. Till next time, everybody go kick some ass. I'll see you later.
Yay.